K-State coach signed a 8-year, $44 million deal to be at Kansas State, which is 5.5 million a year. After winning the Big 12 title, upsetting the number 3 team in the nation, lost to Alabama in the bowl game, has probably 9 starters coming back on offense next year and a ton of defensive players. My question is, I don't know if we overpaid or or what, but this guy won the Big 12 and he's still not hitting the 6 million mark. So, that's a good question for me to have for you.
Well, first of all, what was the score in the K-State Alabama bowl game?
That's not the point where we're
coming. 45-20 for what it's worth.
I mean, they won the Big 12.
Yeah, I know. Landslide victory is what I'm saying is, and I'm simply saying $5.5 million to coach K-State out in Manhattan, that's a lot of moolah.
You can say
Nebraska requires an $8 or $9 million coach. I would imagine that Trev is for the money that we've paid. I would imagine that there better be some type of results, because Trev is a football guy, right? Who was an All-American, former 5th overall pick in the draft. Let's not forget who the athletic director is. So the money should be well spent, and we'll know against Minnesota, was it?
Now we know too that
Did I answer your question?
Nebraska was interested in Chris Klieman. That was one of the people that was there was a few of them that were reported. I think Chris Klieman was reported as at least having a meeting with Nebraska. He almost won too much at Kansas State. He kind of like got it going, as the season progressed. Yeah. It's just kind of like, okay, well now why would you leave Kansas State? You already have it kind of built up. But there is a monetary difference there. I kind of agree with Terrell. It's kind of interesting. If you ask the question flat out, would you rather have Chris Klieman at 5.5 or Matt Rhule averaging wherever he's going to average at? Right now, obviously, you would probably land with Klieman, but we'll have to see. He's had 4 years at Kansas State. What does Matt Rhule look like in year 4 at Nebraska?
Yeah. Now here's my take. I don't have anything against this, what Matt Rhule makes, but this guy right here, Chris Klieman, he came from South Dakota. He was with Craig Bowl, North Dakota State. Mm-hmm. So he was with Craig Bowl. He won 4 FBS titles by himself and 7 overall. So he comes to K-State and he builds them back up because they was down at a point. They was like Nebraska, So my question is, like, this guy, he earned every bit. Now, not my problem, but my question is, Matt Rhule, who has coached the college football in 3 years, you got to understand the Big Ten. That's my first question. Does he understand Big Ten football? Because this isn't the Big 12 right here. It is a totally different football when it comes to the Big 12 and the Big 10. With the Big 10 being more a dominant, more run league or 50-50. My thing is, but this guy, he came up from the rankings and he went to K-State and he did his job.
Again, I think he's a good coach. Obviously, he wasn't a coach for Nebraska, or he'd be at Nebraska. And I think $5.5 million, $8.5 million is still millions of dollars to coach college football. And so I think, what do you think Michigan State's saying right now?
Yeah, they're they got a headache going on over there.
What do you think Texas A&M is saying right
now? Yeah, you don't pay coaches that type of money until they impress me. That's what I would say, because there's only one coach deserves that type of money. It's probably 2 right now, and that's Kirby and that's Kirby and Nick Saban. The guys who win every year. You can put Ryan Day up there. You can put Jim Harbaugh up there, but the rest of the coaches, I don't think they should be doing that much.
Oh well, I just think if you it is what it is. That's that we're in Rome doing the Romans do. So you can't think for 1 second that all these people are getting paid in college football. And if I'm Chris, why would I consider coming to Nebraska to rebuild?
Yeah.
What would be what do I gain to earn by coming to Nebraska, even if they pay me $8 million?
Well, that would be it. That would be maybe 2 or 3 million more a year, but other than that.
Oh, they got.
Yeah,
but if you say this is an 8-3 team, 9-3 team, then this is not rebuilding. This is just
it's not 9-3, Terrell. It's 4-8. It's 4-8. It's 5-7. It's 3-6 or whatever it was, and 3-9.
Well, one of your good friends now, Will Compton, was on his show. He said he sees Nebraska going 9-3.
Yeah.
I'm not going.
Will Compton drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I had to ask him another question, but
so he's trying to get some. Yeah. At least Will Compton's at least using his name and what he's earned to get Nebraska talked about, at least on his media page. If he says they're 6-6, and you know, who's even going to blink twice? He was like, whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I think at this point we got to be realists about where we're at.
Yeah.
We can't keep going into seasons thinking that we are somewhere and we're completely different. Every year during Scott Frost's era, we seem to think that that was the year. But you study losing people, and then you're like, oh, that's the year. No. It's been a year of turmoil year after year after year. So what does Matt Rhule have to do differently than Scott Frost and Mike Riley in order to be successful? That's the real question.
When?
And like I said, it starts with, win and start somewhere, though. It's getting the right players and putting them in the right position to make plays. That's what Coach Rhule has to do. Figure out who your fullback is. Figure out your top 3 receivers. Figure out who's going to be your 7 linemen that you're going to use interchangeably. Name me 7 of the top linemen we got at Nebraska. Who is it? Who's the top 7 going to be?
Yeah,
y'all quiet.
Well, yeah, they've got to put it together, but it's interesting too. Because I think the pay thing is interesting. And we can kind of throw it at the side, say it doesn't matter, whatever. But when you were kind of asking, that's like, what does Matt Rhule have to do to be successful at Nebraska? And when I think of the Matt Rhule hire, I think get Nebraska back to, like you're kind of saying earlier, that 9-win standard, or at least, I don't. To me, it's not a failure.
Wait, Bob. Hold on, Bob. I'm not telling you 9 wins for me is Rhule getting us back. I'm saying, can we have a winning season and go to a bowl game?
Yeah,
that's all I want.
In year 1, yeah.
That's all I want in year 1 is let's fight. Let's go hard. Let's lay it out on the field. And I mean everything. And then get to figure out a way we slide into a bowl game. Figure out a way we can play better than 500 football. Then I'll tell you, okay, we're starting to sustain, because the teams that you guys named off earlier, like the Minnesotas, are you kidding me right now? Minnesota? We're comparing Nebraska to Minnesota? No. We are compared to the Michigans, to the Ohio States, to the upper echelons of the Big Ten, the Wisconsins. That's who we need to be taught. When they talk about the Big Ten, and now the USCs of the world, and probably the UCLAs, but when you talk about the Big Ten, Nebraska needs to be in the top 5 conversation.
Yeah.
In order to do that, again, infrastructure. And if you need me to call Big Slim to tell you what infrastructures mean, all you got to do is let me know.
But now, again, I'm still interested in the salary thing, just because what the expectation eventually, like you're saying, this is a building type of scenario, so it's not expect this in year 1. But if you're paying Matt Rhule top 10 money, which you're paying him top 10 money to be a college football head coach. Eventually, do you move the goalpost to national championships, conference championships, or would you be satisfied if Matt Rhule gets Nebraska back to kind of the 9-10 wins every year, would that be successful enough? Or because he's paid like a top 10 coach, do you need top 10 finishes?
Are we talking like after 4 years?
Yeah, we're talking down the line.
Of course, man. If we're back winning 19 games a season, you can't say anything but great job. You can't try to say we got to be winning national championships, because before we won the national championship in '94, when was the last time we won it?
Yeah, 22 years.
Okay, then.
But we didn't tell Frank Solis good job. We didn't tell Bo Pelina good job for 9-3. See, that's the thing. They're going to want more and more and more.
Yeah, I mean, again, Bo Pelini was told good job. Bo Pelini made nice money at Nebraska. And Bo Pelini, if he would have just been Bo Pelini and not let people record him talking about the fans, he'd probably still be here. If they wouldn't have hired, what's the guy from Miami? What is his name?
Sean Eichhorst.
Yep.
Yep.
If they wouldn't have hired Eichhorst from the University of Miami, who knows what would have happened? But it wasn't a Nebraska guy. Trev Alberts is a Nebraska guy. I can go on a limb right now and tell you if Trev was there, I bet you both still would have been here. If Trev was there when Frank was there, Frank would have still been there. So at the end of the day, this is a hire by Trev. I think he knows that this hire makes or breaks him as an athletic director. So he's going to pour in all the resources. And if I'm Matt Rhule, now that I think about it, hindsight 20, if I'm anybody and I came to the University of Nebraska, with the turnover and the turmoil that has been going on around here, you got to pay me long term. Like I said to Coach Rhule myself, Coach, this is a 20-year job. And I think Coach Rhule knows it's a 20-year job. And maybe in year 20, 18, if he gets lucky, 15, we'll be in the championship game. But if you guys are thinking Coach Rhule is the savior and we're going to be in the championship game within 5 years, you're crazy. You're crazy. Now, we could be in the Big Ten championship game, but not the regular championship game. It's going to take 7, 10, 15 years of constant rebuild. You got to understand. Coach Osborne retired after 25 years, 5 of which was the best years of any college coach career. Go back and look at it. Coach Osborne's last 5 years of his career was the best 5 years of any coach in their last 5 years in college football. But it took him 20 years to get there.
But that's not everybody's path, though. That doesn't, just because that was Osborne's path doesn't mean that has to be.
How long
Matt
did it
Rhule.
take Nick Saban to win his first championship, sir?
Oh, in totality at LSU or at Alabama?
It's got to be in totality of his coaching career, because Coach Osborne his totality of his head coaching career was at Nebraska for 25 years.
Yeah, but it's all different. Coach Osborne overtook a top 5 team. Nick Saban had to work it out at Michigan State. He was never going to have So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Every circumstance
get it, but he
different.
had to fill in the shoes of a legend. Same thing that Solich was asked to do. And I'm saying, what is Nick Saban's his head coaching career? How many years had he been head coach before he won the championship?
It would have been 10 then.
That's one great job. Yeah. Nick Saban had to get beat up by the legend in order to do it.
Well, that's 6 of those years at Toledo and Michigan State. Took him 4 years at LSU to get to a championship game and 3 years at Alabama.
So, again, my hat's off to Nick Saban. Nick's got it figured out.
Yeah.
Just like when you mentioned Coach Osborne and Nick Saban in the same light, you can.
Yeah.
Even though Coach Osborne's greater, just a tick.